Well, Queensland father, former Army Major and Iraq War veteran Bernard Gaynor's courageous and relentless campaign to protect children from explicit and graphic content in Queensland schools and libraries continues. His lobbying has resulted in the graphic novel Genderqueer, which includes disturbing depictions of sexual acts suggestive of paedophilia, has been raised by Robbie Katter in the Queensland Parliament. Bernard Gaynor joins me now. Bernard, many of our viewers will be familiar with you. You've been on the show a couple of times before, and we really admire the stand you've taken against genderqueer. I understand you've got some breaking news.
Well, thank you for having me on today, Lyle, but I do have breaking news. This book, which depicts its author fantasising about paedophilia, has been removed overnight, I've confirmed, from the Bundaberg Regional Council Library Network. Now, this is the first council in Australia to actually look at this book seriously and take it off the shelves. And that is just great news because there'll be more to follow. This book has to go. It is disgusting and it should never have gone onto public library shelves in the first place, where I have to say it is mostly being directed at young teenagers. It is just not appropriate at all.
Yeah, no, well, that's great news, and congratulations on pressuring the Bundaberg City Council to take action. As you say, hopefully that's the first of many. We talked about this a few months ago, but just to remind our viewers, how did we get a book in libraries, in the children's sections of libraries, that contains paedophilic content? Surely that's the one taboo that everyone agrees should remain a taboo.
Well, it should be a taboo, and under Australian law, it is actually unlawful. What happened was the Australian Classification Board and the Classification Review Board did not want to actually deal with the reality that an LGBT book depicted a paedophilic scene. So they just decided that the image of a child was actually an adult. It is ludicrous. Anybody who looks at the picture knows instantly that they're looking at a child. You don't have to be an expert to see that. Despite that, I do have expert reports from child safety experts from the University of South Australia confirming that it is in fact a child of about 12 years old. I suppose when you look at the image of the man with an erection that is there, and he's got a beard and pubic hair, and he's touching the genitalia of a person half his size without any pubic hair, it's pretty clear that you're not looking at a dwarf or a midget, you're looking at a child. So the book got onto the shelf because the people in charge of protecting children can look at a picture of pedophilia and not identify a child. That's how bad it is. I do not want to be cynical and say these people have an agenda. I want to take them at their word, that they actually honestly believe that is an adult. And in that case, they should all be sacked because they can't do their jobs. They're just unable to do their jobs.
Well, let's just look at the potential agenda that might be at play here. What can you tell us about the author of Genderqueer, this Maya Kobabe lady?
Maya Kobabe.
Kobabe, sorry.
She's an American. Yeah, she's an American lady, and in some ways, I actually feel very sorry for her. She was brought up in a weird family environment. Introduced by her own admission to homosexual pornography at a very early age. She's grown up very confused about her own body. She's now had her breasts removed, and she has huge problems with intimacy and love. It is a very unhappy existence. I would not wish it upon anyone. Unfortunately, she is now promoting this as somehow a good experience, encouraging others to follow. With her book, it's just... It is really sad, but it is also quite dangerous, and we should not expose children to these dangerous ideas. It leads to terrible outcomes.
Absolutely not. And look, that insight into her upbringing probably does explain perhaps what's behind this book, Genderqueer. Bernie, you had success in getting Robbie Katter, the leader of the Katter Australia Party in Queensland. A great man, Robbie Katter. I really admire the stands he's taking on a number of family issues. But he raised this issue for you in Parliament. What did he say, and what sort of pressure has that brought to bear on the Miles Labor government?
Look, I'm very grateful to Robbie. I briefed him on this issue some weeks ago, and he did raise it in Parliament in Queensland last week. And he asked the Education Minister to confirm that this pedophilia fantasy comic is not in any schools in Queensland. And there's some reasons to be suspicious that it might be, although it is very, very difficult to get any information about what is in school libraries, and that is a problem for all parents. But he did ask the question, and the Queensland Education Minister responded basically by saying that she would make sure that it is not in any schools. Now, that is a great outcome. I want to take the Queensland Labor Education Minister at her word, and I hope she does check. But I will certainly be chasing up with Robbie to make sure that it is not in schools. And look, I do want to thank Robbie very much, just as I want to thank the councillors and the mayor at Bundaberg Council as well, because they have taken a very serious and principled and responsible approach to this. I haven't had to fight with Bundaberg Council or with Robbie. They had one look at the book and said, we have got a problem, and they've dealt with it, which is exactly what you want your local representatives to do.
Well, Bernie, I know millions of mums and dads out there will be very grateful for the work that you're doing to expose this and to have it removed. We'll look forward to hearing what Queensland Education Minister Di Farmer has to say in response to these questions, and we'll be keen to get you back on when we get an answer from her. Bernie Gaynor, thanks so much for your time today.
Sure, thanks, Niall. And if people want to keep up to date with this campaign, please visit my website, bernardgaynor.com.au. Sign up for my newsletter. I'm looking for local people to help with this fight all over Australia. We're having great success in Western Australia and South Australia as well. So please join the fight. Yeah, absolutely. That's bernardgaynor.com.au. Thanks again, Bernie. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Niall. Thank you.